Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I'm inviting the GOAT Squad on to talk to you about the faction games today. So we are the GOAT Squad, the greatest team of all time. Myself, Layla, and MTG Jedi. We're going to be taking on two other teams of content creators. There is Ivy Lee, Cold Brew, and Smiley. There is Scratch, YST, and Nubkex. They're all going to be trying to take us down in different events from Raid Shadow Legends. And we are going to beat them in every single one. You're going to be able to follow all of the faction games on Deadwood Jedi's website. I'll also pin down below the other content creators' YouTube channels. They'll be doing videos as these games go on. So if you want to watch your favorite ones, you can kind of get in the mix. Deadwood Jedi is also going to be streaming the head-to-head heats. So the first one's actually today, 1 PM EST, where we take on the Dragon. But yeah, loads scheduled in for the next 2 weeks. Let's get the other two into the mix so we can talk about why we picked who we picked and how it is going so far. So I'd like to welcome Layla and MTG Jedi onto the channel. Layla, how you doing?
Hello, hello. Hi, Hades, and hey, guys.
And Jedi, welcome along, my friend.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having us. Good idea for this collab. Get things kicked off on your channel over here. Super excited.
Yeah, so obviously, like, we're the GOAT Squad. And if you don't know what GOAT stands for, greatest of all time.
Right.
Clearly, we're going to win this. And I think there was a little bit of kind of a hint towards Layla's fascination with the new GOATs coming into the team.
Oh, come on.
Well, I wanted to kind of fitting because I'm the Skinwalkers guy, right? So obviously we got to be the goats. Yeah,
but we got to do something different and fun. Everyone has initials for their names, you know, so we want to stand out. So we went with GOAT Squad.
GOAT Squad. So I think I wanted to talk about a few things today. For those who don't know, the Faction Games is live. Deadwood Jedi is kind of like streaming lots of different parts of the competitions. There's actually one that's going on today, and that's going to be for Dragon. But we're basically covering Dragon, we're covering Spider, Hydra, Arena, Ice Golem, Fire Knights. Basically, the whole of Raid is being covered, and it's content creators versus content creators. So we're one team. We're up against some kind of big heavy hitters. And I just wanted to talk about tactics and why we've done what we've done. Now, let's start off by talking about factions. Yeah, everyone has to pick their own individual faction. And as a group, we were able to pick 3. We were quite fortunate we got first pick. I guess,
yeah, we were
Layla,
so lucky there.
Do you want to walk us through some of our kind of initial thoughts around first picks? Who was our kind of like top picks?
So initially, like, I remember we were talking about this. We wanted Demon or Undead. And we got so lucky because, like Hades said, we had first pick. So we kind of went back and forth on it. Then we decided to go with Demon because Demon is ridiculously stacked. But so is Undead too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think actually in hindsight, so is Dark Elves.
Dark Elves is too. I think they're going to be a threat too.
Yeah, I think that might have even been a little bit of a miss. But I don't know if we was to do it again and we had first pick again. I don't know, Jedi, do you think Demon is still the one? Or would you actually change your mind?
I think Demon is the clear #1 because it doesn't matter who you ban from it. There's still other good options.
Yeah,
sure, there's a lot there.
That's what makes it the clear #1 is because it's ban proof.
Yeah,
like Duchess didn't even get banned, which I find absolutely shocking because of how good she is for Arena and Hydra. But you know, even with Cecia getting banned, you know, we're still fine, right?
And you can tell that the other teams were concerned about Demonspawn because they had 6 bans and 3 right away went to Demon. They immediately like banned 3 instead of like 2 from each. You know that they were concerned about Demon.
Hemfrax's gone, Sakia's gone, Kaimar's gone. It's like some heavy hitters like dropping straight away. And then I guess so 2 other factions were picked. No, actually 4 other factions were picked because we went first and then we went. Was it 6th and 7th or 5th and 6th?
6th and 7th, yeah, we got 2 back to back.
So we then went in with High Elves. So there was already picked away the Undead, who were big hitters. We said about that. The Dark Elves had gone. I think the Orcs went really early, which
yeah, that was surprising.
Was weird to me. That was a weird one.
Well, a funny story about that. I was doing a collab yesterday with YST, Smiley, and Deadwood about the Dragon tournament today, and YST said he didn't mean for them to pick Orcs.
Oh, really?
Really? Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. He
Right.
just made a list of the factions he'd be okay using, and Orcs was at the top, but it wasn't his first pick. I lost it in the video. I
Oh,
could
that's so
not
good.
stop laughing.
Oh, because he wasn't there.
He
That's
wasn't
right. He
there.
showed up
Yeah.
later.
Right,
Oh
right.
man, that's gonna
But
be interesting.
so like one of the things that I think that we kind of missed out on, like I think our strategy was more geared towards what factions are going to suit the events that we thought we could use. We
Yeah.
thought we could do, because we have some scheduling stuff that we had specific events that we were only able to do. So
That's right.
our strategy was different than other people's strategies. Like YST, he said one of the reasons why he was okay with Orcs is because he doesn't have Warlord or Seer. And those were the two champions who got banned from Orcs. He doesn't have
Yeah.
either one.
Yep.
And
Yeah, so instantly the bans don't make it. But then the funny
Right.
thing is, though, you take Seer and Warlord out of the Orcs, and they
Yeah.
are, I think they're one of the weakest factions.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
I guess, I mean, they've got some damage, and we're only doing level 20 dungeons here, and and it's
Right.
speed running, so they do have some damage in a Robar and a Kingarog, and they've actually got some interesting champions that might do some good work. But take Seer out, you've lost your max HP champion. Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a tough one for YST to pull off. But if he does, fair play, really.
It'll be interesting to see, and I think to your point, that's what's going to make these games so fun, is to see the creativity, what people are going to have to do to try to make this stuff work.
Yeah. I mean, moving on, we then picked High Elves, and at this point, we hadn't decided who was doing what faction. It was just we think these factions are strong for us as a group, wasn't it? It was just a case of we could all play with any of these factions at this moment in time, and then I think afterwards we had a bit of a chat around who was going to do. Depending on what events we picked was kind of what factions we thought would suit best. But High Elves was our second pick here. I mean, Layla, perhaps talk us through some of the reasons why we thought High Elves would be a good one to go for.
Well, High Elves. So we were initially thinking that. So at first, we had already seen that they were that they had wanted to ban our demons. Like we already kind of knew that they would expect the Hell Hades would want demons. They would know that his roster is stacked, and so we were kind of betting that they would try to ban in there. So then we were hoping that maybe there would only be like one ban in here, and maybe there would be like an Ethos or something that we could still work around with and be okay, because High Elf is still a pretty strong faction, and we're talking speed runs. So I mean, we have Lysandra, we got Arbiter, like we have some really good champs in there to help us out with speed.
Yeah, for sure. And it was a shame, actually. I think the one champion that I didn't foresee to be banned, who was Royal Guard.
Same.
And that's a big ban. That's actually, and in fact, if I think about a regret, we did not do the same in Undead and ban away a Husk. And I now know that I'm against Scratch and Undead in Spider, and Husk coming in with a big enemy max HP AoE. It's actually huge. Like, it's such a huge skill to not have banned away. But certainly, I mean, so Jedi, you've ended up taking on the High Elves.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you feeling about this faction?
Pretty good. Like in the back of my head, High Elves was kind of where I thought I was going to end up anyway. Like that was one of the reasons why I suggested it, because I just, for whatever reason, I had a lot of thoughts about High Elves this week. And so that's where my head was, and that's one of the reasons why I thought it would be good for us. But the number one reason I thought High Elves was a good pick was because I didn't think anything was going to get banned from High Elves.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would have rather banned like 10 undead champions 10 Demonspawn champions before any High Elf. But like, now that we saw Royal Guard get banned, like I felt the same way. I did not have any consideration Royal Guard would get banned.
No,
it was not in my thought process at all. And I don't have Ethos, so that wasn't a factor either. Some people thought that Ethos was a good pick because they remembered my original account where I had multiple Ethoses.
Yeah.
But even still, with Royal Guard banned, the overall quality of the High Elves is much higher than in other factions. And I think most of us have the majority of the High Elves. And those two things I thought made it a good pick.
Yeah, for sure. And there are some big hitters in here. If you're thinking about speed runs. You've actually got a huntsman who can do some work. You've got Alexander's actually not that bad. People think he's terrible. He's not bad. Yannicka is good. Elenara is pretty good, but she doesn't really have the support in the faction to make her work.
Right.
But there's definitely some champions in here that can kind of get you moving and do some decent damage, right?
Yeah, for sure. They're surprisingly, and hopefully I'll be able to bring out some that will shock you. So I look forward to showing off that dragon team.
Nice. And then so we went straight away with the next pick again, and I think at the time of picking this, Layla and I were both thinking we could play either Demonspawn or Shadowkin, and we picked Shadowkin away. And I was thinking, because I know that I'm doing Spider and Hydra because of some scheduling stuff that I just can't get away from. So we didn't really have a lot of choice around what events we were doing. It was just, can we get some factions that are going to do some work there? And I was thinking either way, I've probably just about got a roster that can deal with Hydra in Shadowkin or with Demonspawn. And I think, Layla, you were kind of in a similar boat really for your event. So, yeah, I mean, how are you feeling now that we've got Shadowkin in the mix and it's kind of your faction, Layla?
I feel like it's good considering where we were at with the factions that were left. I think it was probably the smart pick because, like you said, at least it was a bit of a flex for us. And there's some really good champs in here. So we had one band, which was Ninja, but Kimmy's a straight up superstar in this faction as well, too. So there's still a lot of very good viability in this faction.
Yeah, I think the Ninja ban, I mean, it was probably quite obvious it was going to come.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen.
It really does hamper the faction a fair bit, doesn't it, in terms of speed running. Like Ninja is a machine when it comes to damage and taking down bosses fast. So that does hurt a bit, but I mean, there's definitely some good epics in the mix here as well. It's just finding the right kind of combination of champs, isn't it, for whatever events we're doing.
Yep, and like we were talking about earlier, that's what makes these kind of events just fun. Or like Jedi was saying about maybe trying to throw in some surprises, is that way you get to kind of see something that maybe you didn't think about, maybe some rares or some epics that kind of been sleepers that all of a sudden they do well and you hadn't expected that.
Yeah, and definitely. So when we then decided, right, well, Demonspawn makes most sense for me mainly because of Hydra. They didn't ban away a Duchess, and it felt like
that was just meant to be.
Yeah, I just felt like, therefore this needs to be a kind of Demonspawn going into Hydra because this just makes Hydra a lot easier. Duchess makes Hydra a lot easier. And you've got kind of burn options for damage, so it feels like there's a lot of kind of potential here, which kind of just solidified who was going to pick which faction, really. But it's interesting because when you ban away a couple, and then you're like, okay, so who's going to do my drop defense and weaken, that sort of stuff? And you're like, well, hold on. This faction doesn't really have it. And it's like, where's the turn meter control if you don't have a couple of the kind of key champions? It's like, actually, you do need to start delving deeper and say, well, who else is actually in this faction that can kind of come in and do some of the jobs which you would generally use other factions to do? So it does make it kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, it does really get you to think.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess if we were talking about regrets then.
Oh, I got one. So I didn't get Undead because we want to show people what Death Knight can do, guys. I mean, come on. They made sure that I didn't get Undead because they were afraid of my Death Knight. I know that. That's a regret.
100%. Yeah.
100% right there.
I have two regrets, and they're both bans. I think our Calvalax ban should have been Necrit, and I'm super worried about the Necrit team for Arena. I think Scratch is going to go undefeated with Necrit as his lead, but we'll see what happens. And then number two, I think the reason why I didn't value Dark Elves as high is because I was 100% certain Zavia was going to get banned, and she did not.
Yeah.
That was part of this too, like we were saying, is we had our own bans going in, but we also had to kind of hope that the other teams would have smart bans going in as well too. So it's kind of it was just an interesting way to kind of come in, hoping that you only get a couple choices, and that the ones you really, really want you didn't get to choose, that maybe the others did. And yeah, like you said, there's some that didn't.
Yeah, I think a couple from my view as well is that I think Sifi is a good ban.
Yeah.
But actually, Sifi kind of reminds me a bit of a Duchess, really. Sifi doesn't really speed things up, but she's extremely good in the arena. So, definitely Necrit instead of Sifi would have been better, or even Husk instead of Sifi, I think also would have been better. kind of looking back now in terms of what I might have done differently. And yeah, not banning either Xavier away or Dark Kale away. Because basically the two of them enable each other. If one of those wasn't on the board, actually, it's nowhere near as easy to do the work. But those two together start to become pretty gross, actually.
Yeah.
And I guess one other thing which I perhaps maybe one of my favorite factions for me personally would have been Sacred Order. And even doing the two events that I'm doing, Hydra and Spider, I still think, and I actually look back now and I think I probably could have done both events better with Sacred Order than Demonspawn even though Demonspawn probably got a better overall roster. My personal collection of champions, I think, might have done the job better. So that's just kind of like, a bit of a look back for me.
Do you still agree with that, knowing that Venus got banned?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I don't know. Maybe it would have been close, actually. Maybe.
What do we have? We had Cardiel and Venus, I think, were the two that were banned in that faction.
Yeah. There's just such a massive selection of champions in this faction. I guess similar to in Demonspawn. Both factions are absolutely stacked with good champions. There's a lot more good epics in this faction that can come in and do a job. But yeah, both of them are absolutely stacked. So, you can't really moan. I think the Cupidus buff probably just kind of tips it over for me because Cupidus now becomes an absolute, machine in both of those areas. Yeah. So I guess that we've got our events coming up over the next couple of weeks, really. What are you most looking forward to out of yours, Layla?
I'm looking to just have some fun with it. I think this is good. This is the first time, those of you guys watching, you didn't know, this is literally the first time that something like this has been done. You know what I mean? So I think this is amazing. So hats off to Deadwood and Banana for making sure that we can have a really, really fun event like this. So I'm looking forward for people showing up, rooting it, and just us all having a good time.
Yeah,
and if this goes well, maybe we could do more stuff like this again in the future. And I think that would just be really, really good overall. We know the community loves these kind of events.
What about you, Jedi? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Already maxed out like a bunch of champions that I've never used before.
Same.
And that's the coolest part to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have.
Yeah, that's the coolest part.
That's actually the cool thing, isn't it? I think when some of these runs start to come through, people will be like, who is that you're using there on the left? It'll be like, well, who's that champion? And I think that's a load of fun, actually. It is good fun to do that type of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, anyway, look, we've been rolling for a while. Make sure you kind of check out Deadwood Jedi's website. I'll pin all that stuff down below. I'll also pin Layla's and Jedi's channels down below, so I'm sure you're going to be doing some updates as you get into your events. But yeah, keep tuned, stay tuned, and enjoy the events, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Layla and MTG Jedi, thank you so much for coming on and chatting it through, and good luck.
Yes, thank you, Team Goat. Let's go. And guys, remember, first event is today, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's Dragon on Deadwood's website. So make sure you guys or Deadwood's Twitch, I'm sorry. Make sure you guys are there, and we will see you there for sure.
Yeah,
Awesome.
go Team Goats.
Let's go, Goats.
That's right.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Bye.